All right. Well, hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Michelle Prince, and we're going to be talking about how to write your book, publish your book, and launch your book in the new year. There is so much opportunity for people to share their stories. And it's really not as hard as people think. But when you take your story, when you put it into a book, there's so much power behind that. I've seen this firsthand for a long, long time. And it's one of the reasons I'm just so passionate about helping people to tell their stories. If you're just joining, go ahead and tell us who you are, where you're from in the chat. This is being recorded, so we'll send this to you afterward. But let's just dive right in. For those of you who don't know me, my name again is Michelle Prince. I'm CEO of Performance Publishing, and we help authors to tell their stories. Essentially, we want to help people to write a book, publish a book, and launch a book and at any time, but especially now when there's such an opportunity to really leverage your author status. I'm going to talk a lot more about that and what that looks like. But just to kick things off, I really want you to ask yourself a question, and feel free to share this in the chat. But I want to know, why do you want to write a book? I want you to think about that for just a minute. Why do you want to write a book? Some of you who may be just joining are thinking, I'm not sure I do want to write a book. That's okay. But if you do know you want to write a book, what's the purpose behind it? There's no right or wrong reason. It could be anything. Some of you want to write a book to build a business, to use it as your business card. I have a book that I wrote years ago called Your Book is Your Business Card. And it's so true, because people will throw away your business card, but they won't throw away a book. We value books. So there's a huge opportunity to use it to build your business, to leverage it, use it as your business card. Some of you, though, might want to write a book because you want to make a difference personally or professionally, but maybe you have gone through something. Maybe you want to take your life experiences and you want to share it with others to teach them, educate them, warn them, help them, maybe through a situation or an experience that you've gone through yourself. Maybe you're wanting to start a business, build a business. Maybe you want to start a nonprofit. Those are all really good reasons to write a book. And then also the reason could be that maybe you just want to tell your story for your family, for your kids. My story, I'm not spending a ton of time on my background on this webinar because some of you already know who I am, but I do want to say one thing. When I wrote my book, my first book I wrote was in 2009. It was called Winning in Life Now. I never intended for that book to be read by anyone other than my family. So my goal when I wrote that book was I wanted my boys, who at the time were in kindergarten and second grade, to just know me, to know my story when they were old enough to read it. And that is what really motivated me to write the book. And it's because of that book, though, that I get to do. I feel so incredibly blessed that I get to help people to do what I do today through speaking and coaching and seminars, and of course through the publishing company. But it was never intended. I didn't write a book to build a business. The business happened as a result of writing the book. So my story might be a little different than yours, but I'm going to just look in the chat here really quickly as to why you're wanting to write a book. Tell your unique story, challenge the status quo, help direct others to solutions they teach their optimal life, to reach their optimal life faster. Tell my story to help others know they aren't alone. Yes. To help others heal from chronic pain. Gosh, so many have coming in. Personal health experience, which will be my online business. Love that. Great way to build a business is get your story and what you can do to help people out into a book. Help and serve others. Of course you do, Melissa. Help others to learn about the kingdom. Love that, Derek and Monel. Want to better understand and put words to my story so that I can help others to launch a third career. All right. So many great reasons just from this group here. There's a lot of different reasons. And I just want to reiterate, there's no right or wrong reason to write a book. They're all worthy. They're all worthy to be told. Sherry, love being here with you. Miss the encouragement toward the why I wrote my book. Oh, Sherry, good to have you here. All right, but let me explain a couple of reasons why I know you should write your book. These are just basic reasons, but more than anything, your story matters. And as I told you with my book, I didn't intend to share it with anyone other than my family. And it was enough for me to write my book because I knew my story would matter to my boys at some point as they're older. Now gosh, this is going to age me quite a bit, but now they're 24 and 20. And they do know my story, and I'm so grateful. But just know it matters. Even if it doesn't matter to the entire world, it will matter to a group of people. And even if it only mattered to just one, would it be worth telling? I think it would. All right. Well, it does give you instant credibility. Anyone who has written a book, you know this. When somebody is a published author, there is a credibility that instantly comes with it. There is this notion that you must be the expert on your topic. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be your topic. Somebody who is a published author, right or wrong, instantly gets a different, we perceive them differently. We perceive them as the expert, which means it's going to create more opportunities. The opportunities that have been created or have been that I have been able to experience since 2009 are opportunities I never could have imagined. I wouldn't have imagined being able to help other people to publish books, certainly not speaking on stages, coaching, all of these things, digital courses could not have happened if I didn't write my book. So those opportunities are created because of it. And when you are published, let's say you have an existing business. Let's say you're maybe already doing some speaking. What a book will do, what a being published author will do, is it will give you more leverage to either get higher paying opportunities, maybe to get more business, because at the end of the day, we all want to work with the expert. Whatever your business is, people want to know they're working with the best. And a book being published automatically makes people feel as though you are the best. And guess what? You are. You are the best at what you know. Your story is unique. And so it's a matter of getting it out there. Now, talking for those of you who are looking to use a book to build a business like I have done, there is a lot of truth to this. So we all know this. We don't want to do business with people we don't like, right? We are attracted to people that have similarities, similar values, and we want to be around those people. So if that's the case, think about your perfect customer, whatever your industry. People that want to do business with you, it's probably because they like you, or they know you, they trust you. Somehow you have built that with them. There's no other reason they would do business with you. So when I think about why a book, why you should tell your story, is for no other reason is, the best way for your customers, your clients, or the potential people you could impact through speaking, coaching, podcasting. All of them are going to get to know and like you and trust you when they know your story. So that's the importance of this. Now, I'm going to be walking through a lot of steps today. I'm moving fast. I know I'm talking fast. So hopefully you're taking some notes here, but I want you to just know, as this is just kicking it off, you have to tell your story. Now, what you do beyond that, there's a lot of different options, but I do know it's such an important part of building your brand, building a platform, and the ability to make an impact. The thing is about a book, though, I'm not a cook. I wish I was a cook. My kids can tell you I'm not a cook, but I can follow a recipe if I really have to. And so a book is so much like that. When I think about when I have a recipe, as long as I follow it to the T, I get all the ingredients. I take care of those steps. I do it in order. What happens if you do a recipe out of order? It doesn't work, right? So you have to know the recipe. And writing a book is just a recipe. There is nothing so profound and difficult in publishing a book that you can't learn. If I can do this, you can do this, right? So it is a recipe, but you do need to know the steps in the process. And I'm going to share those steps with you today. We have, just a little bit more background if you're not familiar with performance publishing. So we have been in business. I told you I wrote my book in 2009. It was in 2010 that I opened the doors to performance publishing. And the reason I did was not because I had a dream of being a publisher. In fact, that was the absolute opposite. I was speaking, I was coaching, my heart is to motivate, inspire, and encourage other people. And what I found was so many people did not know how to make their dream of becoming an author a reality. So I decided I'm going to help you. I can help you. Again, if I can do this, you can do this. So we started the publishing company in 2010. And since then, we have literally helped thousands of people to become published authors, which is so exciting to me. It is just so fulfilling. We have also published hundreds and hundreds of books for authors. So whether you've come through, for those of you who are my Bookbound alumni I want to know who's here, but if you've been through our courses, Bookbound is a course I've been doing since 2010. Many of you have taken that information and left and published your book on your own, self-published. Even more of you have come to us and asked us to do it for you. So what I'm showing you here is what we call the performance publishing author journey. I'm going to show you more specifics of what your journey might look like. But for authors who have come to us, this is as simple as it is. I mean, it's literally a matter of figuring out, well, what is your topic? How are you going to help the world with your message? And then we're going to take you through this journey. We call it partner publishing because I see this as, again, I did not set out to be a publisher, never my dream or goal. But I do want to lock arms with you and I do want to walk with you up this hill. It's not a difficult hill, but you do need to navigate the process. And that's what a partner publisher does. So from onboarding to writing to editing, design, production, all of that, those are just the simple steps in the recipe. Now you need to know what order and you need to know a little bit more specifics of the measurements. But honestly, again, it is just like a recipe. And if they can do it, you can do this. If I can do this, you can do this. Some of you who are on today, I know you're already authors. I think you could probably shout out and say, guys, if I can do this, you can do this, because it is that simple. All right. So I want to quickly launch a quick survey because I do want to know where you're at in this process. There's no right or wrong. This is anonymous, by the way. I won't know who's doing what, but Jacqueline, let me know if there's any issues, but you should see a survey now. Or a poll, I'm sorry, not a survey, a poll that is asking 4 questions. Number 1 question is, I just want to know, have you written a book? If yes, awesome. So excited because guess what? The fun doesn't start just because you wrote the book. It's really where it just begins. But if you haven't, I want to know that too. And if not, when do you plan to publish a book? Is this something like this webinar? We are really trying to help people that are ready to do something and start leveraging it as quickly as possible. So maybe into the new year, maybe you're in the process of getting it done this year, but where are you at in that? And then the next question is, what is your greatest challenge? Now, I realize when I say it's not rocket science, anyone can do this. I realize that it doesn't feel that way. And I didn't feel that way either. So I understand if you're stuck or there's challenges. So I would love to know what your biggest challenges are as it relates. It could be something related to the writing. It could be related to the actual publishing process, which is that journey I just showed you. It could be launching a book, marketing a book. A lot of people publish a book and then realize I have no idea what to do now to sell these books. If that's where you are, awesome. Let me help you. All right. And let's see who else. And then the last question is, let's see. I don't know that one's coming up or not. Okay, so I don't know if my poll's working correctly or not. Hopefully it is, but I do see some of you. So most of you so far, we don't have everyone's participation yet, but that's okay. Most of you so far have not written a book. A couple of you have, which is fantastic. And most of you do plan to hopefully to get this book done in the next year, which is awesome. Some of you aren't sure. That's okay too. Biggest challenges, how to actually write the book. I hear you. Publishing options, marketing a book, becoming a bestseller. Awesome. That's all part of the marketing. And let's see, I'm not quite sure. I can't see what that 4th question is, but take about 30 more seconds. If you haven't already put your answers in there. Some of you've put it on the chat that the biggest Lance is already in process, which is awesome. And let's see, Sherry and her daughter have both written books and have been to BookBound many times. Melissa's just putting it on paper. And so, okay, this gives me some great ideas. If you haven't had a chance to do it, no problem, you still can, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward for time's sake. If you guys want to just see, again, this isn't everyone participating, but if you want to see it, then there you go. There are the results. All right. So I showed you briefly the journey, again, that we take a published author through once we have their manuscript. Now, there's a lot of things that happen in the middle. And I'm going to show you this visual, but I don't want you to stress out because the whole purpose of this webinar is to navigate what I'm showing you. And this is really the journey from an author to an authority. And that first hill, so this is basically like, imagine a mountain. And have you ever been, have you ever been going up a hill and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And then you get there and you're like, oh, wait, there's still another mountain ahead of me. That's if you have a business, you know what I'm talking about. If you're writing a book, you know what I'm talking about. Well, the process to become an author might be that smaller hill. It looks like a bunny hill. It's actually a little more than that. But once you've written a book, there's more to do. So the purpose of today is to talk about not just writing a book, not just publishing a book, but launching a book and building your authority. Because you see, this little mountain here at the bottom is awesome, and it is accomplishing a goal. But if you're truly wanting to write a book, to make an impact in your business, make an impact in other people's lives, and build a platform, you have to be really intentional about not just becoming an author, but becoming the authority. And we'll talk about that. All right, so let's start with the writing part of writing a book. Now, I have helped people to write books very, very quickly. My first book that I wrote, Winning in Life Now, I actually had the entire thing written in 3 weeks, which is astounding because the backstory of that is I had been thinking of writing that book for about 10 years. And so it took me 10 years to think about it. And then it took me about 3 weeks to actually do it. So I want to give you some assurance that writing does not need to take forever. In fact, for some of you, it's going to fly right out of you. So I want to start with giving you some things to think about, that what you can do to write the book in the next 30 days. Think about where we are in the calendar year. We are so close to the end of the year. Now, with holidays and all the other things that come up, couldn't you realistically give yourself 30 days to try to get everything that's up here out of your head? I know you can do this. So let me give you a couple tips. We're going to walk through 5 steps to do this. First being the environment, then clarifying the topic, the message, the audience. I'll go in each one of these, by the way, in a lot more detail. How to create that solid outline, how to get it out of your head onto paper. This is so important. You have it all up here, but it doesn't help anyone, including yourself, till we get it on paper. And then what do you do, and how do you have the accountability and the support to make sure you get this done? So let's start with the right environment. Now, depending on who you are, we're all different, right? So I want you to think about the time of day when you're most creative. This is really important because not all of us function the same. Some of you I know are night owls. Maybe after work, or maybe after the kids are put to bed, that's when your creative juices start flowing. Not the case for me. I am the opposite. Now, I am not the most creative when I first wake up. But give me a cup of coffee or two, and then those hours from about 7 to 10, I am the most creative. And that is usually when I schedule my writing time. So think about your mental energy and when do you have the most of it? That's super important. But also, where are you the most creative? Now, I love the beach. I wish I could be at the beach all the time. I don't have that luxury, and you probably don't either if that's where you're most creative. But think about, where could you go? So there is a park nearby, actually one about 5 minutes from us. And then there's also a lake about an hour from us. And there have been many, many times that I am working on a book, I will literally take all of my stuff and I will go to the park or to the lake and just park my car. If I am around a body of water, the park has a pond, the lake is the lake. But if I'm around a body of water in nature, I'm creative. I get these downloads, is what I call it. So what is that for you? Maybe it's outside, like it is for me. Maybe, though, it's just sitting at your desk. Maybe you are super creative when you're on your keyboard. Maybe it's on your back patio. But thinking about the time and the location goes hand in hand, because yes, it's not difficult to write a book, but you have to be in the creative mode to get it out of your mind onto paper. So you have to be intentional about your time and the location. Kelsey said, I heard when you're outside, your mental thoughts are also more creative and expansive. That's 1,000% the case for me. And if it is for you, then take advantage of that. Grab your laptop, grab a pen and paper, but don't make yourself stay in an environment where you're not feeling it. Okay. Declutter. Now, some of you are, if you're like me, may struggle with a little bit of clutter here and there. My husband is on this webinar, I believe, and I know he can attest to this. So I am incredibly tidy, except for 2 places. Number 1, it's my office, and number 2, it's my closet. And based on my stress levels, you can tell instantly, because a cluttered environment equals a cluttered mind. This is so true. If you've ever cleared your closet out and you feel this like weight off your shoulders, it's because there's scientific proof to this. So thinking about writing, again, we're trying to get this written in 30 days, right? Give it, or 45, 60, you pick it, but making sure you're doing this in a decluttered environment, clearing your desk, giving yourself ample space. Don't have your cell phone out if you're going to be writing. The hardest part of getting a book done is all of the distractions that want to pull you from it. As soon as you schedule your calendar to say, I'm going to write today for an hour, somebody's going to text you, call you, email you, message you, Facebook you, you name you. You're going to be distracted. So declutter, put those things away, which really goes into this next piece of it. Turn it off. Turn it off. This message that you have within you is important enough that if you don't get it out, somebody is not going to benefit from what you could share with them that could help them personally or professionally. End of story. And not to mention all that it's going to do for you. So give yourself that gift of time. Turn it off. Here's the thing. I do a whole course on time management, and I wrote a book called Busy Being Busy, but Getting Nothing Done. I get distractions and I get the difficulty in this, but life does not stop for you or your distractions. You get 24 hours in a day. Life is too short. I wrote a book one time for somebody in their 90s, and I believe the title was Don't Die with Your Book Inside. It was all about life is short, get your stuff out there. So I can't emphasize that enough. All right. And then here's the other thing you have to do. You do have to schedule it. I think I'm optimistic. I want to believe that I have all the time in the world, but I don't. So if I don't carve out my time in my calendar and literally schedule it like it's a face-to-face meeting, it won't happen. So time blocking, if you don't know what that is, research it. It's a great tool to help you just manage your time better, but you're going to have to schedule this writing time. It will not happen magically. Step number 2, clarifying your topic, message, and audience is so crucial because a lot of us know kind of what we want to say, but unless we have the clarity of who is really going to benefit from this and what exactly am I going to say to them, those are going to be difficult writing sessions. So it has to start first. This is something at Bookbound we spend a lot of time on, because if you don't have clarity on your topic, you're really not going to move quickly. So what is it that you could write about? We do an exercise, and again, this is just at a high level today, but this is a really simple way to figure out what is your topic. And that's a combination of your passions, your experiences. For example, I love the beach. I already mentioned that. I love personal development. I met Zig Ziglar when I was 18. I worked for Zig right out of college. It has been a big part of my life ever since. So I'm passionate about it. I love people like you, people who want to grow and develop, who want to make a difference. Those are my people. I am passionate about pugs. I have 2 dogs, Rex and Rosie, and we used to have a Zoe. God bless her soul. She's no longer here, but I love pugs. I have coffee mugs, t-shirts, you name it around our house. We have pug stuff everywhere because I love it. Babies, my faith. These are just some of the things I'm super passionate about. What about you? What lights you up? What is it that you could be doing and the time flies by? What do you love helping people with? Those are some clues to your passion. The second side of this, though, is the experience side. And we have a lot of experiences in life, you know, your career, maybe you're a parent, maybe you've traveled a lot, all of that. But you may probably have some experiences you didn't really want to experience. Bankruptcy, divorce, abuse, all kinds of different things come into our life, even though we don't want them to. But your story is your story. You can't change your story. Your life experiences you can't change, but there could be potentially a way that you could leverage those things in helping somebody else. I'll share one of mine. And again, I do this on every webinar, every Bookbound that I do, I share this. At this point, it doesn't faze me to say it, but there was a time in my life I was really embarrassed to say that when I was younger, I had really low self-esteem, low confidence. I didn't believe in myself. And that really hurt me in middle school, early high school. I was just, kind of in my shadow. And so why does that go on my list? Well, it was significant enough that I felt like it impacted me. It impacted the decisions I made, the people I hung out with, the things I went after. So it goes on my list. Do I want to talk about it? No. Do you have things on your list you don't want to talk about? I guarantee. That's not the point of this exercise, though. Where this all comes together is what you're trying to do is find an intersection between passion and experience, because that's the magic. That's who you are. And you are your story, by the way. But what it was really going to show you is some specific areas that you could easily, like without planning or preparing, you could easily help somebody. So for example, I love personal development and I worked for Zig Ziglar. crazy connection there, right? I love personal development. I learned from the master of personal development. I'm also passionate about personal development, and I had to use it because I experienced low self-esteem when I was young. I read Zig Ziglar. I read Norman Vincent Peale. I read and listened to cassette tapes back in the day to get my mindset right. Thank goodness I did, because I'm now able to move past that. But you want to look for connections. These are clues to your story. Chances are good you're going to have a lot of them. So I have to move forward, but this is, again, something that I encourage you to play with, because it will give you so much clarity on just who you are. Also thinking about your message. Okay, now that you have some idea, let's say maybe you want to write a book on how to homeschool kids, or maybe how to build a business, right? Okay, thinking about, well, what's it about? What is the point of the book? What's the purpose? Is it to educate people? Is it to inspire people? What do you hope to accomplish with it? I asked you in the beginning, why do you want to write a book? Maybe you want to write a book to get on stages. Maybe you want to get to start getting consulting clients, or create a digital course around it. What do you want to accomplish is really important to know. And then finally, why does your book need to be written? There's a lot of books out there, and this comes down to the confidence in yourself. If you don't believe what you have experienced and what you're passionate about and what you know that you totally know will help somebody personally or professionally, if you don't believe it's worthwhile, nobody else will either. So that question is really starting with you. You have to have such conviction that, you know what, I may not have it right, but in fact, I was listening to Joyce Myers this morning. She said this quote, I think I'm going to butcher it, but it was something along the lines of, I may not be where I'm supposed to be, but I'm a lot better than where I was. So the point of this is, you don't have to have it all figured out to turn around and help somebody in something that you know, but you have to have the confidence in yourself to do it. All right. And then finally, the audience is, who can you really help with this message? Most people want to say, everybody needs to read this. And while that may be true, you serve fewer people the broader you go out. So really think about it. My last book I wrote was called Shine Through Your Story. And it's all about, igniting your light, illuminating by sharing your story. And my audience, although I do think everyone could benefit from it, it was not everyone. It was Christian women primarily. Okay. It was women that really don't necessarily, maybe they want to write a book, maybe they don't, but they do want to make an impact. So who will benefit most from your book? Are they men? Are they women? Are they over 50? Are they children? Are they teens? Are they business owners? Are they, homeschool parents? You have to determine that up front in order to get it done quickly. All right. I know I'm moving quickly here, but if you have questions, please put it in the chat, and me or Jacqueline will get to those. Now, once you have an idea of what you're going to be writing about, you know who the audience is, your message is getting pretty clear, you have to start outlining it. This is something we do in Bookbound, and it is a great process, but you can do this in your own home. Grab some paper, some markers, and start thinking about all of the things you could share with someone around those ideas that you just came up with when you were thinking of the topic. And these are big ideas. Like, for example, my first book I wrote, Winning in Life Now, the big ideas were goal setting, self-esteem building, belief, overcoming negative beliefs, balance, relationships. Those are some of the big rocks, if you will. And then you just start putting things on paper, anything you can think of in each one of those categories. And the purpose of an outline is not a book. You don't go from, I want to write a book, to it's on paper perfectly. There's a lot of steps in between, which I'll show you, but start thinking about everything and getting it on paper. Even if you just put it on all like sticky notes or something, anything that comes to mind in this stage, because you really just want to get those ideas out in some way. Then you can go back and rearrange and put them in different orders. But think of those big ideas and then the supporting ideas underneath the big ideas. The most important thing for a nonfiction book, though, is bring yourself into it. Add stories, add examples. Even if they're stories of someone else, give people a visual to really understand the point you're trying to make. And just know this, when you're creating an outline, when you're just starting this process of writing, you can't mess this up. The only way you can mess this up is if you just don't do it. And I've seen this over and over again, especially for people who've been through Bookbound. So just do it. Just get it out there. You can decide later if you want to publish it. You can't do it, though, until you have it on paper. Then once it's out on paper, now you have to figure out, or in an outline, I should say it. Now it's in an outline. Now you have to figure out, well, am I going to sit down and type this book out? Am I going to write it? Or am I going to record myself? Talking your book is a great way to do it. This webinar, for example, I'm not going to necessarily do this, but I am recording this. I could take the recording, transcribe it, and then that could be the basis of a chapter, or it could be the basis of a first draft. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to write a book to be an author. You just have to know the content. So if you need to get started by recording yourself or hiring somebody, we have collaborative writers that do this, that they're literally pulling the story out of our authors who just don't have the time or desire to sit down and write. Again, get started. What I like to say is, from your outline, those big ideas, I actually call those silos. And the reason is I like to think of a main idea as an individual silo. It's standalone. This is just an easy way to write a book. And then you take each one of those silos, and when you have a little bit of time to write, you just dive into that particular area. And then you can, depending on what you feel like writing that day, you can pick it. And then once all those silos are written, now you can put them all together and rearranging them into a first draft. But get it out there. Don't edit your work before you go, because that process comes later. This is just the writing, only the writing at this point. All right. And then the last part of this is support and accountability. This is super important. And, my friend Howard Partridge wrote a book called FTI, Failure to Implement, but it's truly the number one reason why people don't reach their dreams and goals. It's not because they don't know what to do. They know what to do. Especially when it comes to writing a book. I'm giving you a ton of stuff here, right? So it's just a matter of, sometimes we don't have the support. Sometimes we need that. I know I need community to do this. So don't go at it alone. That's why I'm here. That's why Jacqueline is here, the rest of my team. We want to help you to make this happen, because we do know it is a journey. It is an uphill mountain, by the way. It's not a downhill mountain, but it does go downhill eventually. But don't go at it alone. Get the support that you need, because there's a benefit to this. Number one, it's just going to make things move quicker. We're talking about getting a book moving this year, right? Into the new year. So whatever it takes to get it done quickly, do it. And find people that can encourage you. We would love to encourage you and help you and push you and do all those things, because it is that important. Now, some of you know about Bookbound. It's the live event that I've been doing since 2010. And for those of you who have been, you may have noticed I have not done one in a year. And the reason is because we're upgrading the experience, basically, to what we're calling Bookbound Academy. And there's a lot happening with that. Nobody knows about this yet. This is the first group to hear about it. And I'll just really quickly tell you, because we're in the pre-launch stage, but it's a couple different things. Number one, it is now a digital course. So I have been spending the last several months recording content, like unbelievable amounts of content. And this particular digital course has 6 modules, but within those 6 modules, there's over 50 videos that are short, to the point, things that you need to know. What do you need to know before you start writing? How do I get more clarity on my topic? What is the process for Amazon? How do I become a New York Times bestseller? How do I become a bestseller? How do I create a digital course around? All of these things are in this course designed to help you to write, market, and launch your book. And so the pre-launch special that we're doing right now is we're going to give anyone in the pre-launch only lifetime access to the course. And the reason it's going to be different is, once we launch this, it will be a yearly subscription, because we're constantly going to be adding more and more and more. If you haven't noticed, marketing is shifting dramatically. Writing is shifting dramatically. Publishing is shifting. So we're going to be staying on top of that. So for those of you thinking of starting podcasts, or how do I get on podcasts? How do I really leverage, build my platform? How do I become that authority? All of those things are going to be in this course. It's only $399. So again, that's lifetime access. When we launch, it'll be $499 for a 1-year subscription. So if you're even thinking about it, that's a great opportunity. But the second thing we're doing, and I'm not doing this, I'm not promising I'm ever going to do this beyond this first cohort, is I'm changing it up a little bit. Instead of you coming to me, I'm coming to you. I'm going to be doing a live cohort. What that means is, if you've ever been to college, a cohort is a small group of people that are going through this together. And so this course, Bookbound Academy, I'm going to be taking you through over 6 weeks. We start this November 3rd. We end on December 15th because we take 1 week off for Thanksgiving. And you're going to have me personally every single week for 6 weeks. Again, I'm not saying I'm going to do this again because I don't typically do this type of thing anymore. But the results of this are going to be, not only are we going to go through the content, which you're also going to get lifetime access to the digital course. So anything you could go back to whenever you get to that point, you will have the access. But the benefit of the live cohort is I only want to work with a small group of people, though, that I can really invest in. I want to see you get this done. So it's you asking me anything you have questions on related to writing, publishing, marketing, anything in my business, etc. It's also going to be just community of support and what can we do to help. It's in my vested interest to make sure that you get a book done. So if you're ready to do this, the cohort's a great way to go. And again, we're only doing it for these dates coming up. It's only $9.99. So just to give you some perspective, my one-on-one coaching is $500. So for 1 hour of coaching, it's $500, but you're going to get 6 sessions with me for over an hour, plus the lifetime access to the digital course that has anything you would ever possibly need to know about this process all in there. And you get it for lifetime access too. It doesn't renew. There's no additional charges unless you just, want to come publish with us. But all of that, those are those 2 options. Again, first for this group to know. The bonus that we're doing only in the pre-launch though, and this is only for those who are in the live cohort, is you're going to get a one-on-one coaching, because I know with a group, a lot of times questions have to be addressed individually. So this is your one-on-one coaching with me. And this could be anything. It could be us mapping out your book. It could be us designing the plan for you to publish it. It could be crafting the plan on building the platform, etc. And all of that is included for everyone in the live cohort. So not a big sales push on that. If this is something that resonates with you, if you're really serious about it, now would be the time to take advantage of it because of those pre-launch rates. And then after the new year, you'll see it as the yearly subscription. Here's the thing that I know, going back to failure to implement, it will never be a lack of information keeping you to do what you want to do, right? Anything you want to do, you can find on Google. You can go through AI now to find whatever you want. It's all about just taking action, right? And a couple of the reasons I see people not take action is, one, they just are just trying to figure it out on their own. And if you've ever Googled or started to search how to write a book, you will see the bazillion options out there. It's one of the reasons I started the publishing company, because there is a better way. And so stop figuring out by yourself. Invest in yourself and find somebody in a group, a community to support you. And if Bookbound Academy is that, then I welcome you with open arms, because those are the kind of people I want to work with, ones that are ready to take some action. But that's the writing part. I am really talking fast because I want to get to everything. So now specifically on the publishing, I showed you kind of what our authors go through, because we do all of the heavy lifting. If you publish with us, it's a much simpler process, but a lot of you are going to self-publish, and that's awesome. Just know there's a little bit more to the journey, and you do have to know the process. You do have to navigate it. That's why we have Bookbound. But let me give you a high level overview of the things you absolutely will have to do in order to publish this book. The writing we talked about, and that's really the pre-writing and the drafting, is that what we've just covered. It's figuring out your topic. It's getting those thoughts in an outline, out of your head onto paper, and then it's starting to write. Now, the revising and editing, that comes after you have created the first draft. You, as the author, you're responsible for proofreading your work, because nobody knows your story the way you do. But the wonderful thing about editors is they will make anybody's writing sound better. And that is a big step in the process. Just know you will have to have a really good professional editor in your genre that can provide you references, because there's a lot of people who can edit, but they may not be a nonfiction book editor. And that's really important. We have so many different editors, and it's because there's different genres. If somebody is writing a Christian book, their editor is going to be a completely different person than somebody's writing a business building book, because they have different styles, different tones, and sometimes, we want to match those things up. But editing is going to be really important, and that's the first step after you write it. You can find contractors, you can find companies that can do the editing. You will spend, based on your ability to write, For our authors, we do it all inclusive, but you will likely want to contract with somebody that you can find at a decent rate, but you're going to want to contract 2 rounds of editing because you want to make sure everything is just right. And your name is on that book forever. So editing is some of the best money you'll ever spend. The design aspect is there's really 2 parts to that. There's the cover design, which we all know, right? Front cover, back cover. If it's a hardcover with dust jacket, then you have the interior flaps. But hiring a great cover designer is key. Despite what people have said, people do judge a book by its cover. So it has to be good. And again, if you're working with a publisher like us, we do that. But you will have to find your own designer. And that's not difficult, but you do just need to know the process. There's certain templates that the printer will need, etc. But start thinking about, well, who am I attracting? What do I want them to feel when they see my book? And that's where you begin in the design. The other part of design is interior layout, and that's just how it looks on a page. Do you want to have graphs? Do you want to have quotes throughout the book? Do you want to have Bible verses in the book? Do you want to have pictures? All of those things happen in the design phase, and that does not happen until editing is complete. So this actually goes in order. And then finally is the publishing. How are you bringing this to life? Just really quickly, I want to go through the 3 options because there is some, a lot of questions around this. What's the best way? I don't know the best way. Well, let me tell you the different options. You can traditionally publish, you can self-publish, or you can work with a hybrid publisher, a partner publisher like what we do. Traditionally publishing is a great option if you already have an enormous platform. A publisher like this, such as a Thomas Nelson, Penguin, etc., they are looking for authors that it can instantly sell books day one. So the good news is if you have a platform, they do everything and they pay for everything, right? They take on all the work. The problem is for a new author, a nonfiction new author, most of us don't have an enormous platform, so we have to work at that. But if they were to pick you up, though, a couple things to think about. You do lose the rights to your work. You no longer own your story. That may not be a big deal, once you've already kind of established yourself. But for me, I chose to self-publish for my first book because that was important to me. I also didn't want to give up all the profit. I did all the work to live the story, let alone write the story. So I felt like I should get the majority of the profit. If that's important to you, that's probably not a good model. Most of you who are watching or listening and you've never written a book before, probably going the traditional route is not going to be your best first step. You're likely going to fall somewhere between self-publishing or partner publishing. So let's look at self-publishing because there is no right or wrong way to publish. It all depends on your goals. It depends on your budget, how much time you want to budget, how much work you want to invest into this, and how soon you want the book out. So, but the good thing about self-publishing is you keep all the profits, you own full rights to the work, you control everything. You are the publisher, the self-publisher. The downside, though, is you do all the work. And, because you're the publishing company, so you're finding editors, you're hiring editors. You are going out and you're hiring and interviewing designers. You're having to go find a printer. You're having to do all of your registrations and Library of Congress and not to mention marketing. It comes after all of that. So self-publishing is a great way to go if you're willing to take on that journey, and it's doable. That's what Bookbound Academy is for, to teach you those things, as well as give you some insight beyond that. But those are some good, so it's pretty equal pros and cons. Now, partner publishing, also called hybrid publishing, there's pros and cons too. The biggest con is it's more expensive. Anytime you outsource the work to somebody else for marketing, for publishing, for anything, you're going to spend more than if you did it yourself. So that is a big con, right? So if money is tight, that's something to think about. However, they're going to do everything. So, when we work with an author, we have done this so many times, hundreds and hundreds of times. So we're going to get it done right. We're going to get it done quickly. We have all of these people on bench ready to go, editors immediately ready, cover designers immediately ready. So it's going to save you a lot of time and you're going to get it done right. But our model is unique in that our authors retain the rights to their work and they get all of the profit. I again, didn't get into publishing to be a publisher. I got into this to help people tell their stories. So you sell your books, you keep the profit. That's how we do things here. Anyway, it is a great model for those of you ready to get moving, but you do have options. So traditional, self, or hybrid. All right, finally, I wish it was just all about writing and publishing, but the truth is, if you write it, does not necessarily mean people will read it. So you have to launch your book. You have to have ideas to market your book. You have to look at this as the beginning of building your authority. Remember that journey I showed you, becoming an author is the first part of that, but there is more. So thinking about while you're publishing the book, how do I want to launch this book? Do I want to do an online launch? Do I want to do an in-person book signing? Do I want to do this with support? I built a book launch team for my Shine Through Your Story book launch, and it was a tremendous help and success. And I highly recommend you consider that. These are the things too, by the way, in Bookbound Academy, we're showing you exactly how to do these things, because I know it's just not something we all know. But I spent a lot of time really putting this together. So those things are in the course. What do you do to get launch buzz? Before a book is even published, you want to be talking about it. You want to get it out there on social media. So what could you do to start marketing it? How can you start getting speaking engagements before the book is even done? All of that is very, very possible. And then you have to be thinking about, just because you've launched a book. You know, I've been a part of some launches recently, and I love it because it's such an exciting time. Your book, your baby, it's there, it's done, it's out into the world, but it doesn't stop at the launch. I wish it did, but it's a continuous uphill journey to building that platform. And again, if you have a message that you know will help somebody, you have to build your authority brand. The book I wrote a couple years ago was called The Power of Authority, and it is a play on words. You can't spell authority without author, right? So I believe this with all of my heart. So if that is the case, then the way to really make an impact is and build your authority. The easiest way is get that book done first, right? But there's more you can do. There's more that you can, and they're not difficult things, but how do you get on podcasts, right? That's a great way to build your authority. What can you do to get your book content online? Maybe you want to submit it to organizations like Forbes or the media. Maybe you want to start doing some more consulting or coaching, maybe speaking, which I'm a big believer in. Digital courses. This is definitely, if you're thinking of writing a book, thinking about how you can add that on. These are the ways you build your authority. What I mean by authority is not that you're any better than anyone else. Authority really means you're elevated, right? Platform means you're elevated. Only reason you want to have a platform is so that people want to listen to what you have to say. A lot of people try to get a platform by just posting stuff on social and all that. When you're an author, people see you as that credible expert. So they're more likely to turn their ear and say, what does she have to say about this? What does he have to say? That's how you become the authority, okay? And it is a process. It is a journey. We teach you all of these things in the Bookbound Academy. And one last time, before I wrap this up, I do want to just give you all the opportunity. You can take your cell phone right now, do your, click on it for the picture to get the QR code, or I think Jacqueline's been putting it in the chat here. But if this is something you want to do, I would love to help you. You will have everything you need in that digital course. And if you're really disciplined and diligent, and you can sit down and listen and go through all of those videos on your own, do it. Do it. You get lifetime access. You can pull up the marketing part when you're ready. You can pull up the publishing part when you're ready. But if you're like me and you feel like you need a little bit more help, you want to have more access to me to answer questions, again, I will help you to self-publish. You don't have to work with our publishing company if that's the route you want to go. In the cohort, it's designed for me to help you go in whichever route you want to go. Of course, I'd love to work with you. All of that to say, anyone who invests in the digital course or the live cohort, which live cohort also gets that free one-on-one coaching with me. But this is just, I'm only doing this for this webinar group because you're in the pre-launch, you're the first to hear about it, is I will apply, if you decide to ever work with us, to publish with us within the next 12 months, I will apply all that you spent in either the live cohort or the digital course towards your publishing package. So essentially, this is totally free. No pressure there, but I want to make this a no-brainer for you if you're really thinking about moving forward. So grab the course for the lifetime, grab the time with me for 6 weeks, plus the course for the lifetime, and everything else that's included in those bonuses that I just mentioned. And with that, I have a couple of minutes, and I want to take a look at the chat to make sure I haven't missed any questions. So All right. So let's see. Thank you, Jacqueline, for putting that in the chat. Is the digital PN Zoom? I'm guessing what you're asking, Melissa, is the live cohort over Zoom? Yes, it is. We're going to do it over Zoom, just like this. But you're going to be more interactive. We're going to see each other. It's not a huge, massive group. It's going to be, we'll see how many. I'd like to keep it fairly small though. And so that we'll be on Zoom, we can talk to each other. And I am going to be our community as we go through this and beyond. So yes, Christy's asking, Jacqueline, do we know yet what day of the week time window for the cohort? Thank you for asking, Christy. So what I'm thinking of, and this can change once we get the group. And I'm in the process of building the group now because November 3rd is right around the corner. So in the next 2 weeks, we'll solidify this. But I'm looking at Fridays, either at 9 a.m. Central or potentially over the lunch hour, noon Central. As a third alternative, we may do it as an evening. But all of the cohort classes will be recorded. So if you can't be join live, but the benefit would be to join live if as much as you can. So for those who do join, that's going to be something that you're going to be asked, given a couple different options, and we will make it work however we need to do it. Because I'm not doing this, forever and a day, I'm not going to be doing weekly calls forever and ever. I'm happy to accommodate however we can to over the next 6 weeks, starting November 3rd, to make it work for everyone in the cohort. All right, so let's see. Sign me up, Vince. Awesome. Hopefully you have, let's see if I can go back to that. Let me see if I can go back to this. There we go. If you haven't already, just either scan that code there or click the link that's in and we'll get you all set up for that. And by the way, everything is kicking off November 3rd. So this is something that you literally can schedule your time, plan your time to be a part of this and work it in. My goal is to get you all of this going and written. How amazing would it be if you had your book written before Christmas? Wouldn't that be amazing? You can do it. I know you can. All right, Lance. Oh, Lance, my friend, you may have mentioned already, but what is the cutoff date to make a decision on the 6-module training or the live cohort? So the pre-launch is going to end. That's a great question. I don't know when we're opening this up to my list. It will likely be you have through this week and probably through the beginning of next week. But at some point, we're going to open this up, depending on however many people we get in the cohort, to my whole list of about 15,000. So I would say, and we are going to limit it. I don't want more than 20 in this cohort. So, but within the week, this group is getting this pre-launch before anyone else. Okay. And any other questions? Click on the link, secure your seat for November 3rd. Any questions that you have about Bookbound Academy or anything that we just covered, you can email us at support@performancepublishinggroup.com, support@performancepublishinggroup.com. And we will get that all over to you. And awesome, Vince. I'm excited. Fellow ZLC member, verified coach. I love it. I'm excited for you, and we will get you all taken care of with that. Again, all of this is launching November 3rd. So be on the lookout for how to access the lifetime access, how to join your cohort, which is going to be your small group pod, if you will, of going through this together. And any other questions? I don't see any more questions in the chat. I think we are done. And I always like to keep people on time. We have 3 minutes left. If you have questions, I'll stick around. But otherwise, I'll end with this. There will never be an open amount of time to do the things you want to do. And writing a book is one of the hardest things to squeeze into your schedule. But I can promise you, if you make decisive and determine that you're going to get this done, you will. Because anything we prioritize, it will happen. But you do have to schedule the time. It's why I'm doing this live, because I want to encourage you and motivate you and help you. So, but there will never be a perfect time to write a book. The only thing I know is you will never regret writing a book. I've never had somebody come back to me and say, gosh, I really wish I wouldn't have done this. Most people, if not everybody, come back and say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done this sooner. So trust me, yes, you will be busy for a little while, but it's worth it. It is worth it. Your story is worth it. You matter, your story matters. But more than that, somebody needs to get what you know to be encouraged, inspired, motivated, etc. So go out there, make some things happen. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate you too. Thank you, Melissa and Kelsey and everyone else who joined live. I know we have a lot more that aren't in the chat, and email us support@performancepublishinggroup.com, support@performancepublishinggroup.com. Go make it a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.